So, hi again, and we finally move on to part 2 of my Google Wave report. So, here I'm going to discuss how to create Google Wave bots. So, I've already shown you in part 1 of my report on how Wave extensions work and some examples of Google Wave bots like Emoticon and Wikify. So here, I'm just going to discuss some basic requirements before creating Google bots and then we go straight to the coding. So here goes. To start, I'd like to note that there are actually two versions of Google Wave, Public Preview and Developers Preview or Wave Sandbox. Public Preview was the one I used in part 1 of my report, and now I will use Wave Sandbox to test my demo Wave bot. The Wave Sandbox can be accessed at wavesandbox.com. To create WaveBots, these are the basic requirements. First, you need a Wave Developer Sandbox access. You can get one at this address. Next, you need Google App Engine. Currently, bots cannot be tested locally or on other servers. It only works on Google App Engine, so create an account and download Google App Engine at appengine.google.com. Now, there are two development environments for WaveBots: Python, which requires version 2.5 or later, and Java 6. For my report, I'm only going to cover Python, but there is also a tutorial on Java WaveBots on Google Codes, so you might want to check that out. For Python, I'm only going to create a simple robot to demo WaveBots, event handling, and basic features. So first and foremost, you need to register an application ID to your WaveBot. Create one at appengine.google.com. So just click on Create an Application button, and it asks you for your application ID, which must be unique, and then the application name. So I named mine as TestApp291. So when I click on my application ID, the dashboard appears, and here you can see logs, set versions, and change application settings. Next, since I'm going to use Python, I'll first check the version I have by typing python -- version at the terminal. I have Python 2.6.1, so it's good. The next, I need to download the Wave Robot Python client library either by SVN or at Google Code. I'm going to use SVN, so I'll check out the library first. So I'll go to the directory where I'll create my code. It's not necessary to use the application name for everything in the code, but for my purposes and for less confusion, I'm going to name relevant files and folders with my application name. Since my application ID is TestApp291, my WaveBot directory will also be named TestApp291. Now my checkout is finished, so if you check the Wave API folder that SVN created, you will see files from the client library. So next, we create the configuration file. Type in your application ID for the application, then the version. If it's your first time, use version 1. I'm using version 4 since I've used this application ID before for experiments. Please always remember that when changing WaveBot capabilities, you have to update the version number. I'll try to explain more later. Now for runtime, type in Python and API version 1. Next, type in the handlers, which describes which handler scripts should be used for which URLs. Save this file in your WaveBot directory as app.yaml. So now let's try to write the main Python code. So I'll create a new file and name the file TestApp291. TestApp291.py. This is the script defined in the configuration file app.yaml. Okay, save. So from the Wave Python client library, let's try to import from Wave API, import events, model, and robot. Next, we define the main function. If first we type in the profile for our robot. So let's name the robot my robot. So robot. Type in the application ID, the URL where your avatar image is stored, version. So just make sure that the version here is the same as the one in app.yaml. Profile URL. So now we have defined the profile for our robot. But as of this report, the profiles for Google Wavebots are not working, so you can't retrieve them now. But I think they're trying to fix it, and we'll be okay in the future. So now before continuing, I'll explain the basic parts of a wave. Wave is the whole document. You type inside wavelets, which I have been mentioning since part 1, and the little messages under wavelets are called blips. These terms are not really distinct, and honestly I'm also confused when they are used. They're not commonly used terms in regular wave conversations, but you'll encounter them in WaveBot development. I'm also going to introduce wave events. So these are the wave events that robots respond to. These are not everything, but you can see the rest of the events at events.py in the Wave API directory. What's shown here are the common wave events that are listed in the Wave documentation at Google Code. As of my report, some are temporarily not working, like bleep deleted. Anyway, events and descriptions are listed here, so you can try them in your own WaveBots. So let's go back to our code. And I'm going to choose 4 events. First, the wavelet participants change. Okay, so type in myrobot.registerHandler events.wavelet participants change. So this event fires when participants and other robots are added or removed in the wave. Then we type in the callback function that will handle the event on participant changed. So type in the next event, my robot register handler events with this event fires when the robot adds himself to the wave. So type in the callback function on robot added. So next